Welcome to the Stock Investor Daily Interview. Today, we have an exclusive with Everett Dixon, CEO of Aureus Inc. The ticker symbol is ARSN. The website is aureusnow.com. The main focus of Aureus is on acquiring specific assets and related to the food industry. Aureus owns the assets and trademarks of the Yingling Ice Cream brand and the exclusive right to market and sell the products of the brand. The goal of Aureus is the operation to consolidate all factors that are positive for the Yingling brand into a synergistic success for Aureus shareholders, as well as the next generation of Yingling consumers. With us today, Everett Dixon, CEO of Aureus Inc. Let's hear what Everett has to say about Aureus.
Everett, thanks for joining us today. Why don't you tell us about Aureus Inc.? How long has the company been in business?
Hey, David. Yeah, thank you for having me. So Aureus was actually formed in 2013, went through a series of, I wasn't involved until January 2019, and in that 6-year interim period, it went through a series of transactions that really never flanged up. And so it was kind of in an inactive state when I got involved in January of 2019.
Interesting. The company happens to specifically be in what's called food brand development. What does that actually entail?
Well, our focus is in the food sector. So as in the case with the first acquisition, which is Yingling Ice Cream, we identify brands in the private sector that we think have some growth opportunities in them. And in the case of Yinglings, for example, have a really solid brand name and make a really good product and have for nearly 100 years. And so we look for businesses in that sector that would be synergetic to that process.
Okay, you talked a little bit about Yingling Ice Cream being an acquisition. Is that the first acquisition of Aureus?
It is, yeah. And actually, we began that acquisition in March of 2019 and went through a series of due diligence with the acquisition and really discovered that it had a little too much trailing liability for us. And so we pivoted from an equity acquisition into an asset purchase. And they actually have a senior debt note with a rather large lender in the Northeast. And when the lender became aware that we were interested in an asset purchase, they suggested that they do a friendly Article 9, wherein they foreclose on the assets and sell them to us in a friendly transaction. And so we elected to do that for a lot of reasons. The first is that it compartmentalizes us away from any of the old liabilities, and it eliminated about $3 million worth of liabilities off of Yingling's balance sheet. So it cleaned up the company. It made the acquisition for us very clean and very straightforward. It did, however, protract the acquisition because you're dealing with an institution, and so the actual acquisition wasn't even completed until late August of 2019.
The company's Yingling Ice Cream. Now, we were talking about the Aureus being involved in the food sector, as you put it. Now, Yingling Ice Cream, have they been around for a long time? Can you tell us more about this particular acquisition called Yingling Ice Cream?
Sure. So Yinglings, many people are more familiar with the beer brand. So Yinglings makes a premium class of craft beer that's sold mostly in the western half of the United States, very strong in the Northeast and in the Southeast. During Prohibition, the company, the founder, Dick Yingling, actually started an ice cream company to keep the business afloat while Prohibition was going on. And when Prohibition was lifted, they just continued to manufacture ice cream. And they did so until 2004. And then they sold off the assets of the ice cream manufacturing plant. And in 2014, his grandson, David Yingling, started the company back up, and they ran it until we bought it. In fact, David Yingling is still on board with us, as is the other co-founder, the new co-founder, Rob Boag.
So the Aureus's first acquisition is Yingling Ice Cream. The company is actually focused in the food sector, as you talked about, Everett. What type of acquisitions are you looking for in the food sector? In other words, is there a specific criteria that you're focused on?
Well, revenue producing just as a threshold, right? So we're not going to buy businesses that are betting on the come. So we're looking for a strong revenue producing company with a good brand that we think has space to grow in its segment.
Okay, and as far as acquisitions go, are you currently looking at any other acquisitions? Anything forthcoming?
It's a bit further out now than it was. COVID made some changes to our business plan for this year, as you might imagine. The capital markets got a little strange, even stranger than they would have been in an election year anyway. And so when COVID hit, we just decided that we would fall back and focus on more of some corporate actions that we wanted to undertake and put the acquisitions kind of on the back burner until next year. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We're just going to focus on the core that we have and then prepare ourselves to start acquiring again the first part of next year.
So basically, from a corporate standpoint, that's the main focus of the company right now.
Right. I mean, it's strengthening Yingling's, making sure it's sound, putting it in a position that it can grow. Cyclically speaking, you don't grow an ice cream company in the summer, you grow an ice cream company in the winter. As counterintuitive as that seems, so we're preparing ourselves and Yinglings to be in a position so that we can grow that business when that cycle starts again in the fall and in the winter. And then in addition to that, we're undertaking some corporate actions with most of the shareholders who've paid attention to our press releases will know is the company had its currently pink reporting alternative, and we're taking it back to a fully reporting SEC company. And so that entails undertaking the audit of all of those previous periods and refiling them, which we just got the first one done. And that is the longest one to get done in the inactive period. And so we're pretty pleased about that. The rest will begin to fall fairly quickly.
That's great, and as you know firsthand from doing it, it's quite an undertaking. That's what you're going through right now as a company. The ticker symbol is ARSN, Aureus Inc., and with us is Everett Dixon, CEO of the company. Everett, probably last question for you here from our conversation. What's the plan to continue to build shareholder value?
I think execute on the business plan, right? So in my mind, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. And the highlights for us are execute on the Yingling's acquisition, grow that business and get that business producing strong revenue. Acquire other businesses that are producing strong revenue that fit into that same model. And then also to delever the balance sheet with respect to the debt. The company's in pretty good shape in that it doesn't have any convertible debt and doesn't have any real toxic debt on the books, but still it's better for us to delever that and to clean the balance sheet up and give us a good balance sheet, because ultimately what we want to do is uplist to a larger exchange. And so to do that, we need a strong balance sheet.
Sure. For people that are actually listening to us right now talking about the company Aureus Inc., where can people find more information, Everett? A website, any kind of social media you like to throw out there right now for people to check out?
Sure. Our website's ARSN.com. You can go on there. There's lots of information about the company on there. If you're looking at Yingling specific, Yingling's has its own ice cream website. It's yinglingsicecream.com. And then OTC Markets lists all of our PRs and all of our financial uplistings for now. They'll be able to begin to see those on the SEC, but for now they're on OTC Markets. We have kept the financials current.
Okay, so everything's current on the company. Again, on otcmarkets.com, if you go there, the ticker symbol is ARSN. Everett, thanks so much for joining us today and giving us an update on what's going on with Aureus.
Thanks for having me, Dave. Great talking to you.
Our thanks to Everett Dixon, CEO of Aureus Inc. Again, the ticker symbol ARSN, the website aureusnow.com. Thank you so much for joining us for this exclusive interview. If you like this video, please hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss out on any future Stock Investor Daily updates. For Stock Investor Daily, I'm Dave Donlin.